Hey guys, it's Andrew, and today I'm going to talk to you about 5 ways to make your footage pop or more cinematic or creative in Final Cut Pro or Premiere. Some of them are even in camera. So some of the things we're going to be talking about is first shooting in log and then using LUTs. By doing this, you get more dynamic range. So you have your shadows are brighter and your highlights are, everything's exposed right. That way those shots where you're shooting through a window, your inside's going to be brighter, your outside, it's still not going to be even, but it's going to be better than shooting just without a picture profile. So on my Sony right now, I'm shooting an S-Log2, and I am using a LUT right now. I'm going to turn the LUT off. This is what it looks like. Now I'm going to turn it back on. You can see it makes a big difference. The second thing I'm going to talk about is transitions. Now these can be in camera, which I personally prefer, or they can be in post-processing. There's definitely a lot of transitions in your software that come with it. However, I think they're overused. I typically see them in a lot of videos, and I would look at different packs if you're interested in doing it in post-processing. But I think using the in-camera method is the best. Next, we're going to talk about speed ramping. So for slow motion footage, you can slow it down, speed it up at different parts. So if someone's just running, you can keep that normal speed. They're about to do a backflip, you slow it down, and then they walk away, you speed that back up. And it's just an easy way for slow motion, but it's not going to make your audience bored just watching a whole slow motion clip, and it looks really cinematic. Next is slow motion. Now I just talked about this, but there's definitely right and wrong ways to shoot slow motion. This is going to be an in-camera method because you're going to set your shutter speed to double the frame rate. So like on my Sony, it shoots 120 frames per second. Typically Canons do 60. So you're going to want to double your shutter speed to make that, for in my case, around 250, or on Canon, you're going to want to make that around 120. A lot of people just shoot at whatever their camera's set at, and then when they go to slow it down, they wonder why it looks so choppy. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in post. Now, slow motion, when used right, is really cinematic, and I need to use it more myself. I really don't. In this last music video I shot that I just edited, I was looking at some clips that I was like, man, this would have looked really cool in slow motion. It's just kind of hard being a one-man band when you're filming. You got to get all the shots. It's a music video. Everything's moving, B-roll and everything. There's just not a lot of time to switch slow motion. It'd be easy if you had a second shooter for just the B-roll and stuff like that. But definitely slow motion's a good way to go for making footage cinematic. Fifth thing is going to be just playing with the aperture. Right now I'm shooting at f2.8, so if I move in a little bit and it grabs focus, my background's going to blur just because I'm so close to my background. But if I had a 70 to 200 on this lens and I was here in my background, well, this wouldn't work because I'm too close to the camera, but you get the point. If I was in front, it would blur my background and make it look closer, compress it, and it looks really good. So just play with your depth of field. There's different ways to make footage look cinematic just by doing that in camera. Now if you're shooting during the daytime, you can't just stop down. You're going to need an ND filter to go on your camera. It's basically like sunglasses for your lens. You don't want to cheap out on an ND filter just because you have a nice camera. You're going to screw that on, and it's just like putting a cheap little ring of plastic around your lens, and it's going to start making your shots look not as good. Now there's one thing as a bonus, and I say a bonus just because it's not for every video, but in this music video I just shot, it was really cool, and that is double exposure. Having two clips kind of playing at once, or shooting through like a person, having their eyes have a background in them, something like that. And it's a bonus because you don't want to use it for like a promotional video unless your client requests that, which would be kind of odd. But for music videos it works really good, it looks really cool. I'm going to show you how to do that. So without further ado, let's hop onto the computer and see how to do some of these things. Okay, so I'm now screen recording on my MacBook. I am in Final Cut Pro. You can do this in Premiere Pro. Some of the things are obviously going to be different, the shortcuts, the LUTs, all of that stuff, but everything's still going to be, you're still going to be able to do everything in Premiere Pro if that is your preference. So yeah, let's get started by talking about LUTs. Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is LUTs and shooting in log. So like I said, I shot this music video in S-Log2. And then you basically put a LUT over that, so when you shoot your video at first, it's going to look really flat and bad out of camera. It's almost going to look black and white. Everything's just gray, monotone, not good looking. So essentially on this clip right here, I have my friend Gabe in this field. Now if I turn off this LUT, you can see exactly what the footage looked like out of camera. It's very gray, everything's just very monotone, nothing looks good. Now if I turn that LUT back on, as you can see, It just makes everything pop a little more. Now there's so many LUTs out there. If you think this one, if you don't like this one, that is okay. There are just so many LUTs out there that give different looks. I can show some of that. So if I play this back, you can see it just looks so much better. Now let's go to a different clip and I'll show you how to add a LUT. Okay, so now for this shot, I have my before. Now I'm going to go over here to choose an external LUT. Now I have a whole folder of my LUTs. It's called Premiere LUTs, but the same files work for Final Cut Pro and Premiere, so you can search just either one, LUTs, and find packages. There's so many free ones out there that are good. I purchased Peter McKinnon's. I like them, but I honestly don't even remember which ones are his anymore. I just use them all, so it's not like I favor any. This one does happen to be my favorite though, and this is the M31 kind of cinematic standard. It basically boosts blues and oranges, and I really like it. So now there's two files. There's this one if you're not shooting log, this one if you are, which I don't know why you're really using LUTs if you're not. So now if I turn this on, there you can see it makes a dramatic difference. And if I play it back, it's going to be a little choppy because it's not rendered, but it just makes it pop. Alright, while we're in here, I'm going to give you another bonus, and that's just to use a letterbox, so you have these black bars at the top and the bottom. Just looks really cinematic. That's kind of the standard. It's really easy to do. No, I'm not going to walk through the letterbox just because there's so many ratios and different things you can do with your letterbox. But if you want to do that, it's really easy. Just watch a YouTube video, and you can see how to add the letterbox to your footage. But now we're going to look at transitions. So here are the Final Cut Pro transitions that come with. Like I said, I'm really not a fan of any of these just because they're all overused. There's so many good ones out there that people have made and are selling for no more than like $4 out there. Some of them are even packs. You can usually find like content creators, that YouTubers like Peter McKinnon and Matty Hapoya. They will actually sell them on Black Friday, Christmas, whatever, 50% off, and that's when I got mine. But we're just going to take this, we're going to apply it to the footage, and we're going to see what this does after it renders, of course, because that's going to take a minute. Okay, so as you can see here, my rendering is at 40%. This is the one I just put down right here. But I actually realized I put this one down earlier. It's the exact same transition, so we're gonna watch that because it's already rendered, as you can see from right here. So honestly, this isn't a good place for a transition, but as you can see, it just kind of carries over the footage. Now what would have been better there is a in-camera transition, so I pan hard to the left, and then in the next footage I come in from the left and then I'm on the subject. I just think in-camera transitions look way better. And these I think are just kind of cheesy, but it's definitely a good way to keep your story going without having choppy clips. Okay, now for the speed ramp slow motion thing, I'm going to do that as one just because speed ramping, you are using slow motion. I just started a new project just so this was separate, and I don't have to worry about stretching the timeline or doing anything like that. I just want to keep everything the way it was, so I made a separate project just for this one clip to talk about slow motion and speed ramping. Like I said, you want to shoot at 60 FPS or 120 and then double your shutter. Now in this clip I did double my shutter. The thing is though, is as you can see right here, I shot in 24 FPS. Which, like I said, I didn't shoot any slow motion of this video, which I really should have. So what I'm going to do is if I just play this back, this part's kind of slow. As you can see, it's choppy just because it hasn't rendered. So I'm going to cut it right about here. And I'm going to make this first part fast. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this be slow, just of him putting it in his hair. That's slow. Now I'm not going to go too slow on this just because, like I said, it's a frame rate that you don't want to use for slow motion. So I'm just going to chop it in half, make it 50. And then this part, I'm just going to go ahead and leave the same speed. Okay, that's finished rendering. Now if I play this back, as you can see the speed ramp, then it slows down here. Now it would look better if it was shot at the respective frame rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a video that I've done before in slow motion and just show you what it can look like. Okay, now I'm just pulling a video that I shot at 120 frames per second. As you can see, it also has a letterbox. As you can see, the slow motion just really makes it look a little more cinematic, everything going on. Otherwise this walking shot wouldn't be all that cool, but the way they're going down the stairs, it's in slow motion, and then people behind them running up, Don't know what's going on there. Anyways, yeah, I think it just looks better in slow motion for some clips, and then obviously others don't. But slow motion is kind of a go-to, make it look cinematic kind of thing. It's just easy, and it really does make a difference. Okay, so we're back in the main project now to look at the bonus, which is double exposure. So what I did for this clip is it's the lake with my friend Gabe in the back and then Cole in the front, just kind of like twitching his eyes, not sure what he's doing. But Gabe kind of fills in his eyes and his mouth the way it does that. Now it's really easy to do. As you can see, I just stacked 2 clips, and then I'm going to go over to my effects, just search keyer, otherwise it's in keying, and then if I close out of that, you can see there's 2 items. You're going to use Luma keyer, and then you're going to drag that onto your top clip. You can see in my effects, I already have it on. You can mess with it different ways to get different effects. Now it's going to need rendered again, so I'm just going to go back to what I had before, so it doesn't need rendered, and I can play it back. But you can invert it to make your background your kind of like your foreground cutout. It's pretty cool. I'm just going to go back and watch it again. Okay, so here we go. If I play it back, as you can see, that's what it looks like. Now if I hit V on this clip to unselect it, you only see the back clip. Now it's going to be choppy, but here is what the back clip looks like. He's just skipping a rock. Now if I do the same, I select that again, unselect that by using V. If I watch this, it's just a video of him just kind of twitching his eyes, whatever. But when they're played together with different transparency, you can see it kind of gives it a cool effect. Now same thing with the birds, that's what happened there. In this clip, the birds fly over. It's just a really simple, it's almost a transition, but it's not quite, it's just more of an effect. Did it at the end too, to kind of wrap it up as everyone's walking out. And I think it's a pretty cool effect for especially music videos or maybe car videos, whatever, to stack footage and kind of have double exposures. Well guys, that does it for this video. Hopefully you learned something and are excited to use these tips in your next video. If you found one of these helpful, comment below and let me know what you liked. And if there are some effects that you know that spice up your video that I didn't include, comment below and maybe I'll even make a video on one of those things. But yeah, I hope you learned something, and thank you for watching.